March 7th, 1876, a day that changed the world forever. On this day, Alexander Graham Bell received the patent for the telephone, an invention that revolutionized the way humans communicate. But how did a young Scottish immigrant with a passion for sound and speech create something that would connect the world? Was he really the first to invent the telephone? And how did this single invention shape the future of communication? Let's go back in time and uncover the story of the telephone. Scene fades into a vintage newspaper headline: Graham Bell patents talking telegraph. To understand the invention of the telephone, we first need to understand the man behind it. Alexander Graham Bell was born in Edinburgh, Scotland in 1847. His father was a speech therapist who taught deaf students how to communicate. Young Bell grew up fascinated by sound, speech, and how the human voice worked. In 1871, Bell moved to Boston, USA, where he started working on devices to help the deaf. But soon his experiments took him in an entirely different direction: the idea of transmitting sound over long distances. Bell wasn't the only one working on this idea. Across the country, another inventor, Elisha Gray, was also experimenting with a similar device. It was a fierce competition, with both men trying to be the first to secure a patent for a talking telegraph. On the morning of March 7, 1876, Alexander Graham Bell submitted his patent application for the telephone. Just a few hours later, Elisha Gray also filed a patent caveat. Bell had won the race by mere hours. 3 days later, on March 10, 1876, Bell and his assistant Thomas Watson were ready to test their invention. Bell spoke into the transmitter. "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." Watson, sitting in the next room, heard Bell's voice clearly through the wires. The telephone had worked. A new era of communication had begun. In 1877, Bell founded the Bell Telephone Company, which would later become AT&T. His invention quickly spread across the world, changing business, communication, and everyday life. By the 1900s, telephone lines connected cities, and by the mid-20th century, they connected the entire world. Bell's dream had become a reality. From rotary phones to smartphones, Bell's invention laid the foundation for modern communication. Today, we carry powerful devices in our pockets that can connect us instantly, all thanks to the technology that started with Bell's telephone. But what if Bell hadn't filed his patent first? What if Elisha Gray had beaten him by a few hours? Would history have been different?